Everyone, how is everybody today?
Awake and ready.
Yay. For those of you who don't know us, I see some new faces. And my name is Nayaswami Gangamata. This is my husband, Nayaswami Daiva. It's our joy to be here with all of you, and we especially like to welcome anyone that's here for the first time. I want to start by reading one of Yogananda's beloved poems from Whispers from Eternity. This is called I Was Made for Thee Alone. And feel free as I read this to close your eyes and take each line inside as your own prayer. Offer it up, share it with God. I was made for thee alone. I was made for dropping flowers of devotion gently at thy feet on the altar of the morning. My hands were made to serve thee willingly, to remain folded in adoration, waiting for thy coming. And when thou comest, to bathe thy feet with my tears. My voice was made to sing thy glory. My feet were made to seek thy temples everywhere. My eyes were made a chalice to hold thy burning love and the wisdom falling from thy nature's hands. My ears were made to catch the music of thy footsteps echoing through the halls of space, and to hear thy divine melodies flowing through all heart tracks of devotion. My lips were made to breathe forth thy praises and thine intoxicating inspirations. My love was made to throw incandescent searchlight flames to find thee hidden in the forest of my desires. My heart was made to respond to thy call alone. My soul was made to be the channel through which thy love might flow uninterruptedly into all thirsty souls. Peace. Amen. Our topic this morning on the divine avatara is one that many of us hold really dear in our hearts. I was thinking because we owe our lives, we owe our spiritual lives to the great ones and the masters who have come back to help us. Avatara in Sanskrit means divinity descended into matter, descended into human form. So who are these avatars? Are they somebody that God has created by just like waving his hands around? Or we were putting up our TV to see if we could actually get the Super Bowl. We have no cable or anything like that. But we flashed across an episode of I Dream of Jeannie. I don't know, for those of you, if you're old enough. But anyway, she would do this, and her master would appear and reappear. I mean, is that what God does? Do these masters and avatars just appear by a blink or by snapping our fingers together? Well, no, as our reading talked about this morning, they're people who have gone through all the same things we have gone through. And we have the most perfect example right here on our path with Yogananda. I picked up Mejda, which is the story of Yogananda's boyhood, early childhood, into young adulthood, all the way up until he goes to America. And it's delightful. I mean, this book is packed with all these experiences that Yogananda had just as a young child. From losing his pet goldfish, and I think I may have shared that. Growing up in New York City, we lived in a brownstone, and we didn't have room for pets, but we had goldfish that we would always win at Coney Island when we would go there. And they would always die, and it was always so heartbreaking. Yogananda went through the same thing with his pet goldfish. But then he had brothers, he had sisters. He was teased endlessly by his older brother. How many of us have been teased endlessly by an older sibling, or maybe we've done the teasing? I don't know. But, here Ananta, his older brother, teased him, especially for his spiritual aspirations. And Ananta, there's one wonderful scene in here in the beginning where Ananta's just getting all these letters from friends, and he would wave them in Yogananda's face. Look at how many friends I have. Who's writing to you? And Yogananda would start to feel bad because he never got any letters. And here it shows from an early age he had these spiritual aspirations because he wanted a letter, but he didn't just want a letter from his friend, his boyhood friend. He wanted a letter from God. And so here he was not understanding why he was not getting any letters from God. And I want to read just the cutest little excerpt that I read last night. His boyhood, Yogananda's boyhood name was Mukunda, and he writes a letter to God. He says, "How are you? Are you ill? I talk to you every day and ask you to send me a letter. Probably you have forgotten my request. I am very hurt. You know that many letters come to my father and mother and eldest brother, but no one sends a letter to me. Certainly you will send me a letter. Please write quickly. Don't forget about it. What else shall I write? Mother and father are well." Thus bowed Mukunda. And then just, days passed, 10 days passed, and then he started to worry, perhaps God did not receive my letter. So finally he prays to God. He's bugging the postman. How many of us have done that? Is there any mail? Well, back in the days when you got more snail mail, I guess. And then he prays, is it so difficult to run the world that you cannot find time to write a few words to me? I just love that. And then for those of us who know, if you know the end of the story, then he doesn't get a letter in snail mail. I think God was already ahead of us, even beyond email. God appears to Yogananda in this vision of light, or this ray of light that just envelops him. And then Mukunda, Yogananda as a young boy, then feels, his letter was answered, and his mother knew. And she said, I knew God wasn't going to be far from you. I knew he was going to respond to you. So delightful stories, and then even Yogananda at a tender young age to losing his own mother, which was a really difficult time for the whole family, and it goes quite into detail there. Whatever we've been through, the masters have been there. Whatever we are going through, the masters have been there. Whatever we will be going through, the masters have been there also. And this reading this morning is so encouraging. Bharati and I were talking about this before service. I always feel so like, whenever this comes, this time of year, it's the reminder that, we are free. And I said, not that we're going to be free in 10 years. And she said, nor 60 million years or whatever it is. We are free. For those of you that come to our earlier service, the purification service, we end a part of the ceremony by saying, by the grace of our masters, you are free. Think about that. By the grace of our masters, you are free. And the reading again this morning, it was saying the masters don't come back to say, look at how cool we are. We made it. We're up here on the altar. But you can do it too. They came back for us. I was thinking, what relation does this topic, the mystery of the divine avatara, have with Super Bowl Sunday? The topic for some of us for the day. I'm reminded of a very old movie. I think I've shared this before. It was from the 80s, Rudy. And I know it's old because we've had it on VHS. I'm sure it's been upgraded to Blu-ray or whatever we use now. But in the movie, this young man, it's based on a true story. He wants to be a football player for the Notre Dame football team. But he's not what you would call the typical football player. He's a little bit shorter. He's not as big, I guess. He's trying to get into Notre Dame, which is a very good school. His grades aren't as good. I'm guessing it's kind of an expensive school to go to. He doesn't have the funds, all of these things. And everyone's telling him, even his immediate family is telling him, you can't go to Notre Dame and play football. You're not this, and that. And he never let any of those thoughts stop him from his pursuit, from his goal. But the scene that I really love that stayed with me, I haven't seen the movie in a long time because we don't have a VHS player anymore, but there's a scene when a dear friend of his, I guess, went to a thrift store and found a Notre Dame football jacket, and he gives it to him. And you see Rudy putting this jacket on, this football jacket. It says Notre Dame, and you could just see him just going, yes. The light goes off. He goes, yes, I can do this. I am a Notre Dame football player. Well, that's what we've done in this lifetime. We've put on this jacket of whatever we want to call it, whatever our team is, whatever it is. And we think this is all there is. Masters are saying, no, you are free, you are free. Now, it doesn't mean we can get relaxed here and say, okay, well, we're free. We don't need to do any work. We can hang out. We want to remember the spiritual path equation that we have. 50% is the grace of God. really good odds if you're betting on that. 25% is the grace of the Guru, and as Daiva was saying, the Guru is God that's come back to help us find God. The other 25% is what? Our effort. We have to play in the game. We have to give 100% of our effort. And it's so beautiful. What's the affirmation for today? It's on sharing. As Daiva read, it's one of the clearest paths to God. That's a strong statement from what he read. What does that mean? What happens when we share? We expand past me. That's all about me. We expand the ego. We allow the ego to expand. We're helping somebody. We're offering a kind word, whatever it is. A mother walked into her 2 little girls. They were eating grapes, and the older one was, eating, I think, her younger sister's grapes. So the mother says, "What are you doing? Are you eating your younger sister's grapes?" And she says, "Oh, no, Mom, I'm just helping her to share." When we share, when we open, when we expand our hearts, that's why many of our prayers are, expand my heart, expand my mind. The last line of that poem, I was made for thee alone. Help me to be a channel so that I can share these teachings, I can share these qualities, love, peace, and joy with everyone we meet. There was a nurse who had been working for many years in one city, and she decided to move, and she thought, well, I'm not going to have a hard time finding a job because I have all this experience. So she sent out tons of resumes, and she doesn't understand why after 2 weeks, she didn't even get one call back. So finally she gets a response, and they say, "Thank you so much for sending your inquiry. We did not get you attached, as you said was not your resume, but we did enjoy the vegetable lasagna recipe. So thank you for that." What are we sharing? We have an opportunity in a week and a half. There's an insert in your bulletin promoting, sharing. The Art and Science of Raja Yoga is starting in a week and a half. It's one of the most delightful things that we offer here, that we enjoy sharing. What do we learn when we do that? Somebody the other day asked me, what are the benefits of taking this class? And as I had some time to reflect on it, I realized one of the biggest benefits is that we discover who we really are. We discover that we're truly free. Some of the other byproduct benefits is that we learn how to meditate. Again, every week. Last week we talked about it. Next week we'll talk about it. Today we'll talk about it. It's in the stillness. Through the regular and deep practice of meditation, we learn a meditation technique in the Art and Science of Raja Yoga. We learn, if we have one already, we learn how to take it deeper. But then we learn how to share it together. Because then we have time together where we're sharing a meal together, we're doing some service together here, putting the temple back together. But then we dive deeper in yoga philosophy. We talk about affirmations. Why is diet and health so important on our journey on the path? How do all these things help us know that we're all so free? Help us to come to that realization that we too are free. So we invite you to come, sign up. If you've done it before, sign up again. Daiva always shares the record is, I don't know how many billion for somebody to take it. It's just every time you take it, you can take a certain aspect of your practice, of the teachings a little bit deeper. And we love sharing this. So it's one of our most favorite things to do. I'd like to end, since the topic is on the Guru, Yogananda wrote a beautiful poem called God's Boatman. I want to end with this. This is Yogananda's promise to us that he's going to come back again and again till not one person is left behind. So feel free to close your eyes. Feel for Yogananda as an avatar, as a self-realized master, coming back to bring us this realization of who we truly are. I want to ply my boat many times across the gulf after death and return to earth's shores from my home in space. I want to load my boat with all those waiting, thirsty ones who have been left behind, that I may carry them to the opalescent pool of iridescent joy, there where my Father distributes his all-desire-quenching liquid peace. Oh, I will come back again and again, crossing 1,000,000 crags of suffering with bleeding heart. I will come, if need be 1,000,000,000,000 times, as long as I know that one stray brother is left behind. I want thee, O God, that I may give thee to all. I want salvation, that I may give it to all. Free me then, O Lord, from the bondage of this body, that I may show others how they too can free themselves. I want thine everlasting happiness, but I want also to share it with others, that all my brothers may find the way to happiness forever and forever in thee. Let's take a moment of silence.